Every night, when he was a child, he'd wake up to footsteps. You might say he was just dreaming, but dreams don't take you into the woods in the middle of the night. Hey horror lovers, I'm Brent, and this is the Midnight Post, a place where we dive into strange and chilling creepypastas that might just keep you up at night. In today's video, I'm kicking off a series of stories that are super popular in the creepypasta fandom. It's called Penpal. But since it's kinda long, I'll be breaking it into parts, one for each video. So if you don't want to miss the next chapters, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. So when I was almost done editing the video, I found out the name of this story isn't Penpal, but actually Penpal. I'd been calling it the wrong name this whole time. First, let me give you some context. Our protagonist, an Anonymous guy, has been remembering strange and unexplained things that happened during his childhood, and now he has decided to share it all on a Reddit forum called No Sleep. He used to live in a lower income neighborhood, the kind of place that was humble but actually really peaceful. It sat right next to the woods, but around there, weird things were happening. And this one happened when he was just 6 years old. In a quiet room, if you press your ears against the pillow, you can hear your heartbeat. The muffled rhythmic beat sounded like soft footsteps on a carpeted floor. So as a kid, almost every night, just as I was about to drift off to sleep, I would hear these footsteps, and I would be ripped back to consciousness, terrified. For my entire childhood, I lived with my mother in a fairly nice neighborhood that was in a transitional phase. People of lower economic means were gradually moving in, and my mother and I were two of these people. We lived in a kind of house you see being transported in two pieces on the interstate, but my mom took good care of it. There were a lot of woods surrounding the neighborhood that I would play in and explore during the day. But at night, as things often do to a kid, they took on a more sinister feeling. This, coupled with the fact that due to the nature of our house, there was a fairly large crawl space underneath, filled my mind with imaginary monsters and unescapable scenarios which would consume my thoughts when I was awoken by the footsteps. So basically, he kept hearing footsteps at night, but when he told his mom, she just said he was imagining things. He insisted so much that at one point she blasted his ears with water from a turkey baster, just to calm him down, thinking it might help. Spoiler, it didn't. The only weird thing that actually happened was that sometimes he'd fall asleep on a top bunk and wake up on a bottom. It happened like once or twice a week, but it wasn't that creepy. He figured he probably got up to pee or grab some water and was just too tired to climb back up. No big deal. But then there was one night when he didn't woke up on a bottom bunk. I had heard the footsteps, but was too far gone to be woken by them. And when I was awoken, it wasn't from the sound of footsteps or a nightmare, but because it was cold. Really cold. When I opened my eyes, I saw stars. I was in the woods. I sat up immediately and tried to figure out what was going on. I thought I was dreaming, but that didn't seem right, though neither did me being in the woods. There was a deflated pool float right in front of me, one of those ones shaped like a shark. This only added to the surreal feeling, but after a while, it seemed like I just wasn't going to wake up, because I wasn't asleep. I stood up to orient myself, but I didn't recognize these woods. I played in the woods by my house all the time, so I knew them really well. But if these weren't the same woods, then how could I get out? I took a step and felt a shooting pain in my foot, which knocked me back to where I had just been laying. I had stepped on a thorn. By the light of the moon, I could see that they were everywhere. I looked at my other foot, but it was fine, and as a matter of fact, so was the rest of me. I didn't have another scratch on me, and I wasn't even that dirty. I cried for a little bit, and then I stood back up. I didn't know which way to go, so I just picked a direction. I resisted the urge to call out since I wasn't sure I wanted to be found by who or what might be out there. I walked for what seemed like hours. I tried to walk in a straight line and tried to course correct when I had to take detours, but I was a kid and I was afraid. There weren't any howls or screams, and only once did I hear any noise that scared me. It sounded like a crying baby. I think now it was just a cat, but I panicked. I ran veering in different directions to avoid big pigs of bushes and collapsed trees. And I was paying close attention to where I stepped because by that point my feet were in pretty bad shape. I paid too much attention to where I was stepping and not enough to where those steps were leading, because not long after hearing the cry, I saw something that filled me with a kind of despair I haven't experienced since. It was the pool float. I was only 10 feet from where I had woken up. This wasn't some kind of magic or supernatural thing, it was just lost. Up until then, he'd been more focused on getting out of the woods than actually how he ended up there in the first place. But being right back where he started completely messed with his head. He wasn't even sure these were his woods. He had just been hoping they were. Did he run in a huge circle? Did he get turned around and walk back by mistake? How was he supposed to get out? At the time, I thought the North Star was just the brightest star, so I looked and found the brightest one and followed it. Eventually, things started to look more familiar, and when I saw the ditch, a dirt ditch my friends and I would have dirt clod wars in, I knew I had made it out. By that point, I was walking really slowly because my feet hurt so much, but I was so happy to be so close to home that I broke into a light jog. When he finally saw the roof of his house just peeking over a lower one nearby, he let out this little sob and started running faster. He just wanted to be home. He'd already made up his mind not to say anything about what happened because, honestly, he didn't even know what he could say. I wouldn't know either. None of us would. The plan was simple: get inside, somehow, clean himself up, and go to bed. But then as he turned a corner and saw the whole house, his heart sank. Every single light in the house was on. His mom was awake. I knew my mom was up, and I knew I would have to explain, or try to explain, where I had been, and I couldn't even figure out where to start. My run became a jog, which became a walk. I saw her silhouette through the blinds, and although I was worried about how to explain things to her, that didn't matter to me at that point. He walked up the few steps to the porch, grabbed the doorknob, and started to turn it. He was right there, but before he could even open the door, two arms wrapped around him and yanked him back. He screamed as loud as he could. That feeling of being so close to safety and then getting pulled away from it filled him with a kind of dread that, even after all these years, he still can't describe. The door had been torn away from, opened, and a flash of hope shot through my heart. But it wasn't my mom. It was a man, and he was enormous. I thrashed around and kicked at the shins of the person holding me, while also trying to get away from the person who had just come out of my house. I was scared, but I was furious. As my throat stung from screaming and I was drawing another breath, I became aware of a sound that had been present for longer than I had perceived it. "Honey, please calm down, I've got you." It sounded like my mom. The arms loosened and set me down, and as the man approaching me blocked out the porch light with his head, I noticed his clothes. He was a cop. I turned to face the voice behind me, and I saw it really was my mom. Everything was okay. I began to cry, and the three of us went inside. "I'm so glad you're home, sweetie. I was worried I'd never see you again." "I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I just wanted to come home. I'm sorry." "It's okay, just don't ever do that again. I'm not sure if me and my shins could take it." A little laughter broke through my sobs, and I smiled a bit. "Well, I'm sorry for kicking you, but why do you have to grab me like that?" "I was just afraid that you'd run away again." I was confused. "What do you mean?" "We found your note on your pillow," she said, and pointed at the piece of paper that the police officer was lighting across the table. I picked up the note and read it. It was a running away letter. It said that I wasn't happy and I never wanted to see her or any of my friends again. The police officer exchanged a few words with my mom on the porch while I stared at the letter. I didn't remember writing a letter. I didn't remember anything about any of this. But even if sometimes I went to the bathroom at night and didn't remember, or even if I could have gone into the woods on my own, and even if all that could have been true, the only thing I knew at that point was, this isn't how you spell my name. I didn't write this letter. I really love how this story doesn't give us all the answers right away. Suspense is honestly what I love the most about stories. But now I want to know what you think happened that night. Drop your theories in the comments. And for everyone who already knows the story, no spoilers, okay? I think others deserve to experience this mystery as slow as we did. I think this is what gives a horror story its life, don't you think? By the way, if you agree, consider subscribing and liking this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!